is your sign that you should sign up for my newsletter. No. I mean, this is a sign for the person you're going to meet. No. I mean, this is the sign that we're going to talk about signs today on the podcast. I used to be totally obsessed with signs. When I first met Jay, I was completely obsessed with seeing white feathers everywhere, finding money like pennies and nickels and dimes on the street, and also number size like 1111 and 2222. And I was completely obsessed, and I did not understand really what signs were about and the meaning. So I want to talk about this with Jay today because my feelings about signs have also changed dramatically since then. So, Jay, what exactly do I mean by signs from the universe?
Wait. I'm supposed to tell you what you mean? You tell me what you mean.
You know what I mean. Okay. But people say all kinds of things are signs from the universe, right? So what exactly do signs from the universe mean?
It's a good question. It's kind of weird because couldn't anything be a sign?
Well, yeah.
Anything.
I mean, that's why I started the podcast out like that, because most people think everything and anything are signs.
Sure. But if everything can be a sign with no qualifications, then how are signs special from anything else?
Right. Exactly. I don't know.
So probably not anything can be a sign. Or if everything can be a sign, there's still got to be some quality of signness that denotes that something is a sign and something is not.
Yeah.
Well, what is that quality?
Well, for me, it was I gave an importance to a certain things. So I gave importance to white feathers, right?
Sure.
And so for me, every time I saw one, it was a sign that I was going the right way, not literally, but in my life and what I was working on and what I was doing. It was kind of, for me, it felt like a comforting hug from the universe because I felt a lot of insecurity and unsureness and doubt.
Right. People who feel uncertain and unsure are often the most passionate about signs.
Yes.
Wonder why?
Because we need validation, or we need something to like tell us it's okay, we're doing the right thing or whatever.
Sure. But do people who are already confident, sure, certain, and stuff like that need or talk about signs very much? Are they as passionate about signs as the uncertain, unsure people?
No.
Yeah. So maybe there's something related to signs connected to doubt and fear and anxiousness and uncertainty. But
yeah,
either way, you said I gave feathers importance. So are these really signs from the universe, or are they signs from yourself because you gave something importance?
I said it like that because I didn't know back then that I had given it the importance. So I assumed that, oh, look, the universe knows that I like white feathers, so it's sending me this sign. But now I think what you just said, like that I gave it importance and I gave myself the sign and I looked for it. I looked for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting because it's a physical and scientific and universal phenomena that whatever we seek to see and look for and focus on and put our attention upon will manifest more often in our experience. People will see it more, realize it more, recognize it more, experience it more. So are these really signs? Like, can't I just say yellow armchairs are important to me and I see them as signs? And if I keep up that focus and that attention and that attitude, I will experience more yellow armchairs than average, than most people, than how I used to.
Yeah.
And so now my life is full of yellow armchairs that are signs, and your life is full of white feathers that are signs.
Right.
But are these signs, or is it just what normally happens when a human being focuses on something?
5.5 years ago, I would have argued you down like as long as I could until you beat my argument to a pulp.
But I'm just asking questions
over this. No, I know. I'm just saying 5.5 years ago, I would have argued that right there with you, even the question, right? All you did was ask the question, but because I was so adamant and so attached to the signs and that it was from the universe. So for me, it made it more special because I believed it was the universe gifting me something and not myself, right? And so yeah, I just made it way more important, and it was from me, not the universe. So can you ask me your question again? I'm sorry.
Well, are the white feathers or the yellow armchairs actually signs from the universe, or are they just the natural, normal, standard result of what happens when a human being focuses on something with a positive attitude?
It's 100% when we focus. What we focus on, what we get. So if we're focused on yellow armchairs or white feathers, the universe is going to continue to put them in front of us.
Yeah. And even if we're not focused on it at the moment, if we've focused on it positively and for a reasonable amount of time or intensity or both, we've established a baseline, and our reticular activating system, or whatever you call it, is going to manifest those in our experience.
Absolutely. I still see white feathers occasionally, and I just smile to myself now, not because I see it as a sign, but because it reminds me of what you just said, the reticulating activating system. Yeah. And I've experienced that with other things. Like when I got I got a red car many years ago, and I didn't really see too many of those cars before, but when I saw it, like, oh, they were everywhere. Right now, I've been shopping for a car at Honda Element, and I really want a red one. And I saw two when I went out to pick my daughter up this morning.
Yeah. I recently started playing chess with Isaac, and with just a little bit of focus, I started attracting all sorts of chess things and experiences and movies and tutorials and just random celebrities who happen to play chess. Like, it's not from the algorithm. It's just in the middle of a video about dancing or movies or entertainment. They're talking about their career, and in the middle, they happen to mention, oh yeah, I play chess or something. It's like I went 10, 20 years without a mention of chess. Nowhere, nothing. And then I put a little bit of positive focus on it, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing chess everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because it proves to you, if you do this with, like, to the people who are listening, if you do this with something that you don't care about, right? Like something that's not make you crunchy or excited or whatever, just something simple like chess or feathers, how you start to see it everywhere, your brain is pretty interesting. But then if you can see it everywhere and you can attract it like that, why can't you do that with other things?
Oh, absolutely. But this is a separate thing. That's about law of attraction and manifestation and creating your own reality kind of thing.
Right.
I was mostly asking questions about signs, because if we can just put our attention and our attitude and our intention on a subject or a thing, and then they keep appearing everywhere, are they really signs is the question.
I know, and I'm kind of avoided your question because I know. I was saying, as soon as I said no, I'm in my head, I was like, but so I guess maybe it's not a sign. Why is it so hard for me to admit it? It might not be. Oh my God. It feels like I'm like being mean to the universe by saying, no, it's not a sign, but it's possible that it's not.
Okay. Well, I don't really know. It's just a question.
I know.
And it could be a sign or it could not be a sign. But my overall point is most people are clueless about signs. They don't know what is one, what isn't one. They don't know why it's one. They can't explain anything about the sign. If someone else just puts their attention on yellow armchairs and starts experiencing them, do we say that's a sign? Are your white feathers a sign? Is someone else's blue butterflies a sign?
Okay, so then how do we know?
Well, so it kind of gets back to the first question we asked about who are the people who experience the most signs and are most passionate about signs.
Well, I don't know everyone, but I can only speak for myself and the people I know, right? And those people that I know that are obsessed with signs and talk about them all the time and point them out, these are the people like the old me who were really sad and had a lot of issues and felt scared and afraid. And well, scared and afraid is the same thing. Whatever. They felt afraid of whatever it is they wanted or going forward, or very no confidence and just doubtful, fearful, unfocused, unclear people.
Yeah, they're the least sure, usually.
Yes.
They're relatively unsure people.
Yes.
And the people who are confident and crushing it don't seem to care very much about signs, at least out loud. Maybe they secretly live their life based on signs and they just don't talk about it. I don't know.
Right.
But if you were to take a survey or a poll, or if you had a lab experiment, chances are you would find all the people obsessed with signs are the least self-assured types, and all the people who don't really care about signs and hardly mention them are the most confident types.
So then I wonder if the confident types, like this describes you and me, right? I'm not like that anymore, but we'll use old me as the example, right? You are a very confident person. Old me lacks massive amounts of confidence, like really bad. So, and I was obsessed with signs back then. What about you? Have you ever been?
Occasionally here and there, I'll say something like, oh, maybe it's a sign we should go this direction, or maybe it's a sign we should go that direction, or maybe it's a sign from the universe. But my heart's not really in it when I say those things. It's kind of like just a more practical phrase, like someone's saying we should go to this restaurant and someone else is saying we should go to that restaurant. And then I see a big neon arrow pointing west. And I'm like, well, we should probably go to restaurant C, actually. I think it's a sign.
Right.
But it's mostly just a practical phrase. Like my intuition says we should go to restaurant C and this happened in front of us. So good enough for me. This is affirming my confidence and my intuition and my gut that says go to restaurant C. So I'm going to tell everyone it's a sign and let's go to restaurant C.
I like that you said it affirms your intuition. So it's not a sign telling you what to do. You already have the intuitive idea or thought or feeling. And then whatever you see kind of affirms it for you.
Yeah. And I feel like this is how it goes. I feel like this is how it goes for most confident people. Even if they talk about signs, my bet is that they feel confident and they're in tune with their intuition. And when they get an intuitive hit or a gut instinct, they lean towards it or consider it. And then if something in their experience affirms it, to them, that's the sign. Like, aha. But they were already leaning towards it anyways. And even without a sign, probably they would have pulled the trigger.
Well, maybe that's what those things are meant to do, to kind of nudge you in the direction, or I don't know.
Well, either way, it's just food for thought. Like these are things people should be thinking about instead of just, oh, signs are awesome. I love signs, whatever. It's like, an unexamined life isn't worth living. And it's wise to be digging deeper into these things, especially if it's a topic that's important to you. If signs are important to you and you clicked on this video because signs are important to you, then these are the kind of things we would be wise to think about. And in the beginning, you said anything and everything can be a sign. And I pointed out that confident people seem to handle and experience signs differently than unsure people. And it sounds like whether something is a sign or not really just comes down to the individual and their attitude towards life and their approach towards life and their stance on life and their beliefs about life and where they're at emotionally and where they're at vibrationally. And at a certain point, signs are super vital, reassuring things that the person desperately needs to navigate life. And then at another point, they're more just like a tiny nudge or pat on the back for someone who's already doing things well.
Okay. So I have a question then for you personally. Can you tell us the story real quick about the angel in the park with the food when you were homeless?
I'm happy to. It's a great story. But to me, that's more of a story of a miracle than a story of a sign, just so you know.
Okay. Interesting.
So that could be a whole other episode. Do you still want me to tell it?
All right. Well, let me ask you a question in a different way then. So you said the more confident people don't really look at things like that as a sign. You are a super confident person now. When you were homeless, you were less confident and you were going through some stuff and you were homeless, right? So during that time in your life, do you think that you saw more signs then versus now, or back then you were still confident and didn't at all?
I agree. I was less confident then, but I've also never really been big into signs.
Fair play.
I've always felt that my mind or my intellect or my gut can figure out what to do in any situation. So signs are like babysitting, hand holding that I don't need, like I've never needed. Even in my darkest times and my least confident times, I didn't really seek out signs too often. I think in some of my dark nights of the soul, I might have like prayed for a sign, like, please give me a sign, or I don't know what to do, or something like that. But I don't really remember actual signs coming. So it was more like a desperate cry that was never going to be answered anyways. Like,
I've been there. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about this, since I've been kind of distant from signs in general. I've never felt they were necessary to navigate life or make decisions.
Well, I think you're the perfect person because most people are obsessed with them. Most people think that everything is a sign. Okay, I shouldn't say everyone and most people. Let me clarify. People, when they start this journey on self-reflection and personal development, usually ties in at some point with some sort of faith or spirituality or spiritual awakening for themselves, right? For me, it was not everyone, but for a lot of people. And so for the both of us, signs have been a huge part of my life even up until recently. The way I see them is different. And to have somebody who has a complete opposite view, I think is wonderful, because if I ask someone else, they're going to come up here and say, signs are great. They're from the universe. Follow the signs, and I don't want that. I want unique and your perspectives on everything. Right.
Well, thank you. I'm not against signs. It's just that I believe they're individual and you can either manifest them or not. And if you're good at navigating life, you won't really need to manifest them that much, if at all. And if you're unsure and timid and a beginner at navigating life, then probably you'll want tons of them. And nothing's bad about that. They're like, whatever. If you want signs, have signs. I don't care. That's a great way to live. Get all your signs. It sounds fun. It's just, I'm busy crushing things and doing my thing, and it's not necessary. I don't need to like go on a long walk and see a poster to figure out what my next decision is. It's like, I can just make the decision now. My intuition is sharp. I'm aligned. I know what's up. I can go meditate for 3 seconds and have the answer. So signs just feel like a roundabout, long, annoying way to get answers that are already inside me. But
yeah.
But if that's what people want to do, I encourage it. I love it. And I do still sort of have a sign vibe. Like when I go outside, I attract a lot of animals to me. Recently, I was at a park with my sister, and there was a little rabbit coming out of the woods, and some kids came and scared it away. And my sister gave up and was like, oh, I guess, these kids scared it away. I was like, no, animals love me. And I kept walking. And sure enough, the rabbit comes prancing out right onto the sidewalk from the forest. Little bunny stayed there for so long, we got bored and like had to walk away. Like we filmed the whole thing. We were filming it for like 30 seconds or something, or a minute. And I was like, And just yesterday I was heading to the subway to go visit my sister again. And there you go. There was a little bird, and it sort of like popped by and said hi. It's a sparrow, I believe. And, when animals gravitate towards me or hover around me or interact with me, I take it as a positive sign. But again, it's not like how most people think of it. I take it as a positive sign that my energy and attitude are aligned well, and my mind and intellect are positively focused. And because of that, I am magnetic to other forms of life. And of course, they would be gravitating towards me. And so I guess it's an external sign of my internal alignment, but it's not like a sign like, oh, you should walk this way down the sidewalk, because I already know which way I should walk in the sidewalk. Like I'm not unsure or uncertain about these things. And even if I was, I wouldn't need some external sign to help me. I have plenty of internal guidance, an abundance of it. And so that's my approach or understanding. But if I do get an external sign, icing on the cake. It's like affirming my intuition.
Well, I have the same thing with the animals and children as well. They flock to me, they gravitate towards me only when my vibe is high. And so back in the day, I used to see it as a sign of whatever. And also, I just want to side note here that in the beginning of our relationship, I sent you tons of photos of signs that I saw, hearts and flowers and feathers, and you never once made me feel like crap over it. You were like, oh, that's great sync, or great, the universe giving you a sign. Like, you were always very encouraging and loving when I sent you ridiculous photos. And another person would be like, yeah, I don't care, I don't believe in signs. And you're just like, great, I love it. And so that's a really loving thing to do with a partner. And especially because it's not something that you like, it's not your thing, but you don't care because it was mine at the time and you were super encouraging and loving. So thank you. And now when I see birds, so it's funny because here in Florida where my parents live, they have a ton of birds, but you don't really see them very, very often. They don't fly down. They don't come by or whatever. They stay up in the trees. And when I was coming to Toronto the last time moving and I was unsure, I remember it was raining and I was crying outside and this little blue jay flew up. Well, for those that don't know, the Blue Jays are the Toronto baseball team, and there are tons of them all over in Canada.
And it's my name.
And it's your name. And so this little in the rain, this tiny little blue jay hopped up on the porch and just like poked at the screen. Didn't like break it or just poked at it, looked at me, and then flew away. And to me, at the time, I needed that sign because I felt unsure that I was making the right choice. I was unsure because our relationship was not stable. We had just broken up and we were trying, like, you weren't even open to trying to make things work at the time. So you just invited me to be your roommate and live with you. Anyway, so that little bird to me was always a sign. But after you said, like, you knew inside, you have all the knowledge inside that you need. When I look back at that moment, I already knew that I was coming. I already knew that you were the path for me. I've known this whole time. So at the time where I was sad and I really needed them to confirm what I already knew. Now, that's not the case. Now I would not need that kind of external thing to help me, guide me, because you taught me how to tap into my inner knowledge instead of looking outside of myself.
Yeah, great. I love it. Birds are commonly seen as messengers from life, from nature, from the universe, from God or the creator or whatever. And that seems reasonable. Like every creature serves a purpose and has their own thing going on. And life tends to manifest in sensible ways, like in fractal ways and in multi-level ways. There's always like a deeper meaning or a deeper level. And so if birds are messengers, great. And if they help you, great. And if you attract them and they hop across your sidewalk and affirm your intuition, great. If they tap on your screen, great. These are all blessings. And if you just blaze through life with inner guidance and need little to no external signs, that's great too. I mean, the world is a wide place and there's room for all kinds of people. And I'm thrilled for all of them. That's why if I meet someone who's a sign person, sign lover, I'm just celebrating, like, great sync, great stuff, way to navigate, way to rock life. I'm glad that's working out for you. Follow those signs. I'm not judging or hating on that. And hopefully they're fine with my way of just following my intuition with the occasional affirming sign. And there you go.
Well, I think it's incredibly loving when you are into something and you still encourage someone else. It's not very often you see that. And when you said, I hope they would do the same for me, I kind of smirked internally because we're attracting more and more people that will, but there's a lot of people out there that when they disagree with you, they're not going to be that loving like you just were. So that's massive praise for me. I think it's wonderful. And I hope more people can do that with others. A lot of people think anyone that's into signs is weird, and like I got a lot of that when I started talking about that with people in my life. They thought believing in signs or seeing signs or all of that was weird and there's no such thing and God doesn't give you signs, and definitely they thought the universe and God were different things. So essentially you think, or I believe, that if you ask the universe to send you a sign, it's going to. You attracted this. You made it. Like we said, the reticulating thingy.
Yeah, that's my point. It's an individual thing, and it has phases in life. And if you are the kind of person who wants signs and intends for signs and loves signs and is passionate about signs, external signs, then that's what you're going to create and manifest. And you'll live a life according to those signs. And you're free to ignore them or free to follow them or debate them with other people or whatever you do, but you're gonna have them. You're gonna realize them. You're gonna manifest them. And if you're someone who's not that big into signs and more like my kind of style, and you're confident and self-assured and in tune with the universe and in tune with your inner guidance, and you're a decisive person who doesn't struggle very much with decisions, then you're probably not going to get many signs. Why would you need them? And if you do get them, they'll be light and gentle and not a big deal, and probably just affirming the decisions you're already making. And maybe you can be anywhere on that spectrum at any time as you go through life, depending on your alignment.
Okay. So from this conversation that I'm taking it that people who lack security and confidence, these are the people that rely more heavily on signs, right?
Usually, and I don't want to paint them in a bad light. It's not exactly that they lack security. It's that they're very oriented towards external security, like externally provided security. Whereas a Tibetan monk might be secure in the dead of winter on a mountain peak and still feel safe because they are oriented towards internal security. And the person oriented towards external security is going to want signs from all over the universe, all over life, all over the earth, like signs, please give me signs. And the Tibetan monk is more likely to just meditate, tune into their internal guidance and get an intuitive hit or something helping guide them. But they don't need to wait for some external sign to appear. They don't need to manifest external signs because they're not oriented towards external security.
Right. Well, that makes sense. It's like the people who, for instance, from like me, I used outside things to comfort myself and to feel secure and to find ways to feel better. And so it makes sense that the signs are an extension of that, right? I was a drug addict. So for years, I looked to drugs to comfort me, to make me feel better, make me feel secure within myself. And after that, I used food to do the same thing. And so as I've changed and grown, it makes sense that in the beginning of this journey where I'm trying to improve myself, that's going to be the thing I reach for. But I quit drugs when we met. I changed my diet when we met. And so I guess I used signs a bit of a comfort for me to help me with that security, because like you said, I was always my whole life looking toward on the outside for security, something outside myself to make me feel good, to make me feel better. It never worked ever. To this day, anytime I look for anything outside myself, it never works ever. And that's probably why signs aren't such a big deal for me anymore, because I've done the internal work to find ways to heal myself without reaching for something else. So now to me, that's why I said in the beginning, like I've changed my feelings and my mind on what signs are, because I used to me, well, as soon as I walked out the door, I was always looking for signs, right? Because it made me feel better. So then we've talked about this personally, because internal security is something I've been working on, the root chakra, right? And so how can we improve this? Because if we can improve our internal security, then we look less outside of ourselves for signs and things to show us the way.
Yeah, great question. Like you said, some people have learned to tap into security from inside, from within.
Mm-hmm.
These are people like Jesus and Buddha, or like I said, some of those Tibetan monks. Or it's kind of like comparing, I don't know if you know Chris Traeger from Parks and Rec. He was played by Rob Lowe, and he wanted to be the world's best human and live the longest, and he's hyper efficient and hyper productive, and he's watching his diet, and he carries an herb belt, and he's always drinking smoothies, and he refuses to put even a single ounce of fat or something into his body, and he's very careful, and he is off the charts externally concerned.
Yes, he is.
He never talks about having the world's best metabolism and being able to consume anything. He doesn't talk about being able to digest and process toxins or deal with unpleasant external factors. He's all about nitpicking the external factors, so he never has any real uncomfortable external situations to deal with. I mean, you could say he experiences some discomfort when he runs or works out, but he's really only doing that because he's concerned about the external degradation of his body.
Right.
And then in one episode, he gets tendonitis or something, and he's worried he's going to die because it's the first time he's had any kind of external concerns and he's getting older. And you compare someone like that to Wim Hof. Wim Hof has a belly. Like, he eats well and drinks beer and, has gray hair and balding a little bit or whatever. But Wim Hof has set more records than Chris Traeger ever would. His health is off the charts. His healing is off the charts. He confounds all the scientists. Recently, maybe like last year, some documentarian challenged Wim to do 200 dumbbell curls that he'd never done before, in a way he'd never done before. And the documentarian was like a beast, like a ripped, like built guy. And Wim outdid him or something. And Wim was surprised. He's like, I never did it before. I don't know. I never, I play my guitar. I do my breathing. I never tried this. But because of his internal resources and his breath control and his cold immersion and his energy management and his alkalizing his own body and all of these internal resources, when he was presented with an external challenge by this documentarian or by scientists or by whoever, he just steps into the challenge. And his attitude is like, whatever, I'll set any world record you want. I'm bored. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. But he has immense internal security. And so you can put him in any external situation and he laughs it off.
Yeah, it's true.
So you can see the difference in the two people. One is externally oriented and with everything external and trying to control it and manage it and nitpick it and craft it and shape it exactly how he wants. And the other one's like, I don't really care about what's going on outside. Put me in the hottest desert, put me in the polar ice caps, whatever. I got internal resources, man. And I'm secure in all ways, in all things. And you can give me any disease or injure me in any way and I'll just heal it. Like, the man is insane, right? And he teaches his students to do it too. Documented cases and proof and evidence of many of his students just applying these things and achieving similar feats.
That's pretty cool.
Right. And I know this doesn't relate specifically to signs, but which one of those people or types of people would you say is more inclined towards signs, and which one is almost carefree about it?
Chris most definitely is the one into signs, and you see that if you are a watcher of the show, you'll notice that. I mean, he doesn't say it in those words, but definitely, especially when he's trying to pick Ann Perkins or trying to pick a wife or decide to marry her or whatever. Same. And Wim Hof, 100%. That man has all his internal stuff going on. He is golden. I mean, I think he had a kid when he was like 70. I don't even know how old he is. Old AF, and he was able to have kids on top of all that stuff you mentioned. And he has taught other people how to do it. He has a success rate with his students. It's pretty impressive. And I do think it has to do with signs, because the kind of person who cares about signs and looks for signs and is desperately holding on to signs and who's mad at this podcast and what we're saying is the kind of person who is looking for external validation. And it's not a judgment in any way, because I was there. I did it too. As I have grown and looked to myself to feel better internally, the more I feel good about myself and love myself and I'm confident, the less I look to outside things, whether it's drugs or Netflix or food or signs from the universe, white feathers or hearts and stuff. And like I said earlier, when I do see it now, it kind of just makes me smile and I go about my merry way, but I don't get all excited about it, because why? I have everything I need inside, but I do like the little sink sometimes that I get, it still makes me feel like, oh, that's such a nice sink.
Yeah, me too. When I see some numbers that fit or a bird comes by, I'm like, great, that's nice. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. And I'm happy if it shows up again, but it's just the icing on the cake. It's not the main attraction. I am not obsessed with those signs or super passionate about those signs, and I don't talk about them all the time and I don't seek them out or whatever. Like, I treat them like I treat anything else in nature. If it happens, great. That's nice. If it doesn't, I'm fine as well.
Well, this is your sign that you should go get our book, Eyes Wide Open, Volume 1. It's the world's first self-help coffee table book, and we're giving it away as a PDF. And this literally is your sign right now during the podcast about signs to go download it. EyesWideOpenFree.com. Why? Because we love you, and Jay put a ton of love into this book. There's a whole bunch of signs in here too that you should be sexier, how you can monetize anything, or that there's always a third way, which this kind of is a third way too. Yeah, there's tons of amazing signs in this book for you. Go get yours. Okay, so if someone who's watching or listening decides, you know what, I want to have more internal stuff like you guys. This is great. This is awesome. This is wonderful. Let's gimme. Can we give them some tips on how they can feel a little bit more secure inside so they can look less outside for signs?
Oh, yeah. You asked me that. I forgot to answer.
I also interrupted with the ad. So,
yeah, mostly this comes from practice, decision practice. So where does confidence come from?
Inside?
Yeah. But like, how do you acquire confidence? Let's say you've never done your nails with gel nails before.
Okay.
Are you confident to do them?
No.
Okay. So there's two people who've never done their nails with gel nail polish, and neither of them are confident. We'll call them Veronica and Jessica.
Okay.
So Veronica chooses to step up, have courage, embrace failure, doesn't care about messing them up, doesn't care about losing money on the nail polish or time out of her day, literally up for the gamble. And she's like, I don't care. I'm doing this. And she does it once and she does fail. She does mess it up. It's a disaster.
Okay.
But Jessica thinks, oh, it's too much time and too much money. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. And I'm scared to fail. And I'm just not up for this. So I'm just going to play video games and go out with my friends. And so she doesn't. After those decisions, who has gained confidence and who has not gained confidence?
I forgot which name it was, but it was the first one.
Veronica.
You said Veronica. Veronica, because even though she failed, she did it. And it made her more confident that she could do it better the next time.
She learned that it's not the end of the world and it's not that scary and that ruining your nails is no big deal. And so next time she's like, well, I don't care if I ruin my nails. It was no big deal. I just cleaned them off. So she's going to be way more confident to try next time. And she's going to be like, well, I bet I could do it better. Or I'm going to read some YouTube tutorials, or I'm going to watch some YouTube tutorials and learn what I did wrong and then apply that. So she's already on her confidence journey.
True.
But Jessica, because she said no once to the opportunity, the next time someone asks her, she's going to say, oh, I already thought about that. Or, I've considered all the options. It's just not for me or whatever. She's either going to be less confident or the same amount of confidence as she started with, which is basically none.
Yeah, because she didn't do it and she would let her fear of messing up or looking stupid or whatever reason it was stop her. And
right.
So the next opportunity, she's going to reach for the same answer. Yeah.
Right. And so for her to ever tackle the gel nails, she's going to need signs because she's externally focused and she doesn't have inner confidence and she's not used to tapping into inner resources. And so she's going to need, like, I went to a retreat and they had a gel nail session there and it was free. And I said no, but then my friend got sick and they needed a replacement. So they called me up and I was the only one who could save them. And it just felt like a sign. So I had to go and try the free gel nail session, even though I said no. So I took it as a sign and now I did it. And it's like,
yes,
it's like, all right.
You just described a lot of girls I know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've seen people do this with all sorts of things. A lot of my exes wanted to take pole dancing, but they never did. And it's like they would sign up or look into places, but never actually pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But I bet you if they had enough external signs, they'd finally do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Sure. Right. But someone like J-Lo doesn't need external signs. She's just like, whatever. I have a plan. I have goals. I have a mission. I want to do some pole dancing. So my intuition says do it. So I'm just doing it. I don't even care if my friends show up. I invited them, but I'm going to go up. I'm going to go anyways. And it's like the confidence levels are completely different and it compounds. So once you make a decision to move forward with something, whether you fail or succeed, you come away with confidence. The confidence is guaranteed just from making the decision. If you're scared to cook your own food and you give it a shot, whether you burn the meal or it's raw or cold or whether it's a masterpiece, you're still coming away with confidence and it's going to be easier for you to cook next time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So making decisions is the number one way to build confidence in anything. Like deciding to move forward with something and experiment and embrace failure always results in increased confidence. And there might be times where you try something and it goes badly, and then your confidence takes a hit and you're like dejected, but you're still ahead of the people who didn't try at all. So you still come away with more confidence. And eventually you'll get back into it and get over the heartbreak and get back on the horse. And then you'll start building your confidence again.
True.
Right. So if you want to live a life that is less reliant on external signs and more reliant on your internal resources, you have to practice and elevate your internal resources through constant decision making. But most people try to avoid decision making. They don't want to decide what to do with their day. They don't want to decide to try something new. They don't want to decide to do something scary or have courage. They want people to make decisions for them. They want to avoid decisions. They want to decide on autopilot. They want to decide by routine. They want to decide out of habit. They don't actually want to consciously decide things and then live with the consequences. But by doing that, they avoid confidence. You are avoiding confidence. Confidence comes as a side effect of making those decisions, whether you win or lose, whether you succeed or fail. And so if you show me someone who's embraced decision making and makes a lot of decisions and moves forward with confidence, whether they fail or succeed, I'll show you someone who's building up a lot of confidence and who will rapidly not need signs very much at all. But if you show me someone who avoids decisions, like Jessica, I'll show you someone whose confidence levels remain the same all throughout life or devolve. And they will need signs for everything. They won't even be able to make a decision until like the universe lifts them up and plops them into some new situation.
Fair play. Very fair play. Okay.
Like for you, moving here or moving there or running away or keeping with somebody or whatever, if you hesitate to make decisions every day, eventually the universe is going to like force you with some major signs just to get you to do something and choose something. And so then you're like, well, I finally did this. I guess I had to. The universe forced my hand. And it's like, sure, but that's not really pleasant. I mean, you got your signs all right, but wouldn't you have just rather had confidence along the way and like been making decisions and not needed this heavy-handed push?
I would have much rather have been confident enough to know to make the decision the proper way instead of the way I made it.
Yeah. So to me, it's an easy choice. I can't believe everyone's not doing this. Like, why isn't everyone just practicing their decision making and acquiring confidence along the way? It's a major win, but the majority of society avoids decision making and relies on external signs nonstop. And I guess that's another way to do it, another way to live life. I'm not against it, but it's not my preference.
Fair enough. Well, here's to hoping that all of us make decisions and find more confidence within ourselves so we don't have to look for external things to help us make choices and to do the things in life that we're meant to do. I'm not perfect, and I still, even though I see signs in a different way because I have all the answers inside, it's still a nice little sink for me, and it makes me happy when I do get them.
Me too.
But I think that for me, the takeaway from this whole thing is really that I have to work more on my self-confidence, because where my level is of signs and looking for external things, it's much better. Yeah, it's great in comparison to who I was almost 6 years ago, but it's still not where I would like for it to be. So this is a really helpful conversation for me so that I could see where I still need help. I still need help to improve on my security and my self-confidence. As you were talking about those things, I felt like it was a sign that I need to work on those things. And I felt what you were saying internally, and my intuition is telling me that this is correct. But old me would have been like, see, this is a sign. Oh my God, you brought it up. But yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all your help and your love and how you want to help improve other people so they don't rely on external things, and lots of other ways too. So I just have one final question for you then. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our amazing and wonderful audience?
Yes. In the immortal words of Ace of Base, I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. I saw the sign.
And And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. Oh my God, you're the worst. After today, you'll know all about signs and why you're counting on them or looking for them, or why you don't give a crap about signs. And so now you can go to this video here. It's our video all about decisions to help you be happier and feel more confident in your life, and to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.